You're listening to Win-Win, an entrepreneurial community with your host, Ben Wolf.
And welcome to Win-Win, an entrepreneurial community. I am Ben Wolf, as always, your host. We're going to cover today how to manage your team, how to best manage your team for performance with our guest today. Invite everybody to make sure and subscribe wherever you are listening to this, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, whatever the names of the different platforms are that you're listening to this on. Subscribe in that place. Leave a review if it allows you to do so. Hit like. If it's YouTube, also hit the little bell besides the subscribe that makes sure you get updates on every video that comes out from these interviews so you can get the maximum value from this. And leaving the reviews also helps make it more available on those platforms to other people. And with that, I want to get into introducing our guest today. He is the CEO of Titus Talent Strategies, which helps businesses with, number one, hiring for performance, using targeted recruiting of passive candidates, including a full year guarantee, which, you know, even though this is not like a infomercial here, but I do hope he talks about that because it's actually very different from what most recruiters do and the way he structures that. So I just think it'll be interesting and informative. And secondly, he helps clients with managing for performance, consulting with clients on how to maximize their team's happiness and productivity, even where his company was not the ones that found the candidate. He has over 20 years in human capital and the recruiting industries with multiple organizations. You can find out more about him and his company at titustalent.com. And with that, I give you Jonathan Reynolds. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hey, thanks, Ben. Intros like that, I'm like, this guy sounds really interesting. I want to talk to him about these things.
Yeah, you get to see him in the mirror every single day, this guy. So great. Help other people see what you see in the mirror, a little 2-minute background and context on who you are, where you come from, you know, how you got to be working on the stuff we're talking about today.
Yeah, cool. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's good to connect. You and I have just been chatting for the last 20 minutes about all things all over the world.
Including which celebrities we each look like.
Exactly.
You'll have to leave a comment on which one you think Jonathan looks like.
Well,
which one you think
I look like. At least the one that I said that Ben looked like was a compliment. I don't know about the one. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, it's great to be here. I'm passionate about the people space. I sit in the visionary seat at Titus Talent Strategies. I've got a great integrator, Scott Seafeld. We've worked together for the last 10 years. And but prior to that, my whole space has been in working with people, sort of a consultant style salesperson at profile. It's probably like a lot of people who sit in the visionary seat. Process is not my thing. Following process is not my natural tendency. So I love EOS from an operating system, and cannot rave
just
enough.
For those who are new to EOS, what is entrepreneurial operating system? What is EOS, and how did you? I did want to ask you about that, and how did you come to that in terms of running your own business on it?
Yeah,
you know, what is the deal with your clients running their companies on EOS? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, good one. So leading up, about 10 years ago, coming out of the 2010 recession, I was sitting with Milwaukee Tool, the power tool company, and I was been in contingent recruiting, and so I was trying to get a search to work on, because you know, coming out of a recession, it's kind of like the
who's hiring,
how recruiters survive, and I'm like, give me something to work on. And they said, Jonathan, no, we're not paying any of those whopping big fees. I'm not doing that. And I said, okay, well, you've got some critical roles open, right? Yeah, the answer was we do. And I said, well, let me work on them in a different way. And I just suddenly felt like the opportunity to create something new and special. I thought the recruiting industry was quite a dirty industry, very sort of similar to the connotations that come up when I say used car sales. Kind of like, yep, I get it. You're all the same. You're all recycling other people's unwanted goods. And that's, please, if you're in transition, you're not unwanted goods. People are a wonderful gift. And I think everyone's got a purpose in the world. But just that connotation of someone's going to make a buck off of trying to make these connections together. And it was, the reward system was off. That commission structure I felt was off. And it made people do crazy things. And I saw it all around me. I thought, here's the chance to do something special. So I said to Milwaukee Tool, let us dedicate exclusively to you. And we're going to help you find the best of the best people, A players, passive candidates, those who are not working somewhere else, those who are working somewhere else, they will see your job ads. And it was right there and then kind of my heavens open moment of, here's a new way of doing things. And here's we can change the tables a bit here. I didn't think that we were going to be these huge game changers and transform $150 billion industry that had been around 150 years, this contingent recruiting. But I knew that there was an opportunity to do something special. So fast forward, we're launching this new business model. My business partner and I working together got a hold of this book called Traction. And it was the entrepreneurial operating system for running your business. And I'm like, this is fantastic. So we started we're sitting every Monday morning, 7 a.m. at a Starbucks, reading through this book, trying to implement this thing. And it got to a point where we said, oh gosh, we need help. And so we found out that there were these implementers out there, certified professional implementers who could help us get functioning on this while we were running our business. Because sometimes when you're flying the plane, it's hard to slow down and stop, especially when you're starting up. And so it was great to have somebody navigate that through with us and help us implement this. And 8 years in, we are running and humming on EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, which has been an absolute lifesaver, even in the midst of COVID year, when we wanted to put things on hold. Well, I said, should we skip out on this big important meeting we have coming up? And my integrator business partner said, this is why we run on EOS. No, we absolutely need to have our meeting as per usual. And I was like, oh gosh, man, keep me accountable. But that's what visionaries need. They need a process. They need to be held accountable, as well as to be able to hit the goals. So that's a little bit of the background.
Right. No, that's great. What, and obviously that part of your story obviously is helpful not only for people who need, help with, getting their, managing or hiring for performance, but also just in their own business. I mean, obviously they could, learn because you're running a business like anybody else.
Yeah.
And, besides the recruiting aspect of it, but, maybe we'll get to, your focus with your clients running on EOS in a second also. But look, I understand from Titus Talent Strategies, you guys recruit hundreds of people a year. I mean, you're not, kind of like a solopreneur that's just doing some recruiting. So you have this hire for performance methodology and a process where you guarantee for a year people's performance after hiring, not just that it was a good hire. So what does that mean? What is your process for, for what you call hiring for performance? And I'm asking that also because I know that this is going to lead us into the topic, and I'm hoping you can get into teaching people what they could be having in mind for their own businesses, which are, managing, adapting that to manage for performance after hiring, because I know there's a after hiring element to what you do. So what's hire for performance? What's your process?
Yeah, great. So I think when it comes to people, there isn't a science behind people, because people are not products, they're not machinery. But you absolutely need a process. I think many entrepreneurial people, as they start hiring people, they've got a great gut. They got a great gut sense of how things should work and the way of going about things. And one of the things that a lot of visionaries I've found, they're just great with people, great with understanding people, great with understanding, identifying talent, but they're not really good at following process when it comes to that. And so we're really good at it when it works. And then we all have these ones where these big dingers and we're like, except it works so-and-so. And if you got leaders,
you have a great gut, but then there's like one or two people that's just like, that went very bad.
Yeah, totally. I got them too. I mean, even in the last year, 18 months ago, I remember, people on our leadership team, and I'm saying, let's hire this person. And they said, Jonathan, we follow the process, and this person on the hiring scorecard does not fit. They're not the right person. And I said, trust me, I'm going to make a diamond out of this piece of code. Right. And anybody in our organization can say the name of this person. And I'm like, oh gosh, no, I'm sorry.
Right.
I should have followed the process, but that's what we need. We need a process that's written down and followed by all, including the visionary, anybody. Follow the process.
Have a process, have it
Yeah,
documented,
have a process.
and follow it.
Exactly.
But
And
what does that mean, hire for performance, though, right? What is that? You use that in a way that I didn't realize when I first heard the phrase, the extent of what that means. What does that mean?
Brilliant. Good question. So often we hear people using cliche statements like, we hire for culture. We hire for culture fit. And you go, what does that mean? Let's play that one out. They wants to hire somebody for their team. They want to hire a new individual for their team. And they go to their boss and say, I need to hire somebody for our team. And the boss says, well, what do you need? What do you need? I just need a culture fit. Really? You need a culture fit? Sounds like you need a friend. Are you lonely? What do you need? Just want someone to go to beers with, on a Friday afternoon. Like, okay, I'm not approving that hire. Now you can say, well, I need a salesperson, or I need this, or I need this. But let's define it. But when we say hire for performance, we ask the question, what is the point in hiring? And this is following EOS really helped us with this tremendously. Part of the process is, what's your guarantee as a company? So we had to answer this question. What is our guarantee as a company? What are we guaranteeing? And for years I wrestled with this one. I didn't want to come up with a guarantee. I didn't want to say this is what it is, because how are you supposed to guarantee people? So we said, okay.
Most recruiters just say, I guarantee for 3 months or whatever that they're not going to quit, or you're not going to fire them.
Yeah, and
for that
imagine
period
that
of time.
Our goal in hiring. Can you imagine if we get recruiters? Imagine our goal in hiring anyone was, okay, we just need to hire somebody who's not going to quit, or we're not going to fire
within 3 months.
Within 3 months, we'd all be like, you suck, seriously? That's your goal? Just hoping that the person doesn't clunk out within 90 days or 6 months or whatever, even if it was 1 year. So you think, well, didn't you just contradict yourself, Jonathan? I said, no. The point in hiring is that somebody gets a job done. So if we're going to measure the quality of our hiring, we would say the scoring is what percentage of the people we hired in any given role or across the whole company accomplished the major objectives. So for us, 80% of our revenue comes from recruitment and helping companies with their hiring. So we say, we will not work on any search unless you can tell us what 3 major quantifiable performance objectives need to be done by the anniversary date. You can give us 5. You can take it off of your accountability chart if you want, but we want 3 major quantifiable performance objectives.
Right.
And if you give us,
you can clearly say done or not done, or on track or off track.
Exactly. It's following this methodology that we follow internally. And we break that down. Okay, if they need to do that by their anniversary date, what needs to be done in the first 90 days? If they've not got this done in the first 90 days, there's a good chance they're not going to hit it by their anniversary date.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just breaking it down very, very practically and objectively.
And then how do you monitor it? Because you need to get the information from them before you can even know whether they owe you the money.
So, you just brought up money here. So I remember saying to my integrator, I'm like, what if we have this crazy guarantee that the person will accomplish what we said they would do? And what if we charged a year later for our services? And like a good integrator.
And the CFO is like, get the F out of here. Like, what the heck did you just say?
He resigned. He's like, I quit. No,
right.
This is not good. That's not how you run a business, Jonathan. I'm like, okay, fine. So basically we said, all right, cover our operating costs, which is time and materials. It takes us about 100 hours from start to finish. Cover our operating costs, and any kind of addition that we have something set up in place that gets charged on the anniversary date. Wow. A year later, because it gives us skin in the game. It makes sure we're incentivized to go fast because we make more money, but we don't make money for a year later. But that's the point in hiring people. So we're teaching a principle in our process of the point in hiring is that somebody gets something done. And so then we stay involved on a quarterly basis. When we talk about hire for performance and manage for performance, that kind of our second half of our business is helping companies with performance management, helping them understand that they should be able to look at their company scorecard down to an individual level and saying, how many of the people that we hired are actually getting their job done by quantifiable performance objectives?
Right. And thinking about people, what people can learn from what you're saying, not just if they would hire you, obviously, but what can they learn from this, right? That they could use on their own.
Yeah.
One thing I'm hearing is that number one, have a hiring process that your HR department, whoever is accountable for your HR seat, is accountable to follow some process, whatever that is. And secondly, have some sort of measurables or quarterly something on a departmental level or whatnot that is measuring whether or not the people that they hire are meeting whatever their performance responsibilities are
Exactly.
on a quarterly basis or something, so that you know that your HR seat is doing their job. I mean, putting aside anything with a recruiter, I mean, just even internally that you're making good decisions in hiring.
Exactly. I think there's this necessary evil of recruiters, right? A players make career moves very differently than B and C players. A players don't just typically come to us. You have to go and get them and find them.
Yeah.
Okay. So we use recruiters, but we reward recruiters usually financially. If it's an agency or a third-party recruiter, we reward them when the person shows up on day one by cutting them a big fat check, 25, 35, whatever the percentage is. Like, why are we rewarding them then? That's not the point of recruiters. Getting somebody in the seat is getting the right person in the right seat.
To get the job done, as you said.
To get the job done. So we hire for performance. Same with corporate recruiters. If I have a corporate recruiter to help us get the right people in the right seat. Now, that person has got to be dialed into the anniversary date. I don't want them focused on filling the seat. If I say pat on the back, you filled the seat, that's the wrong objective here.
So what kind of things should people be measuring or thinking about to see whether they are when we're still really in the hiring, we're not even in managing for performance yet, really, because we're talking about HR. What should they be looking at for thinking about whether they have indeed or are hiring for actual performance of the job?
Yeah, totally. Very simply. So we do this, it stumps most of our clients, and we work with a lot of EOS run companies, real passion for us. And we have about 900 clients as a company. We still work with Milwaukee Tool today, which is great. 10 years, our very first client, we're still working with them today. Wow. And then, like I said, we've gone to 900 clients. We're very thankful for EOS. We've made Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies 2 years in a row now. It's been a while. COVID's been an interesting year, but we've never not hit our numbers prior to this year. And now we're bouncing back to pre-COVID numbers, which is great. So with regard to this, every time we sit down with a company, and let's say they're hiring an integrator or a salesperson, whatever the role is, doesn't matter. The process, you're hiring a receptionist or a janitor, start with the end in mind. What does this person need to do, achieve, or accomplish to be considered successful? That's how we're going to measure quality of hire. Was it a quality hire or not?
So it's just like number of sales closed if it's a salesperson.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, P&L, EBITDA, like if it's an integrator, like what are you measuring typically?
Exactly. And so it's quantifiable performance objectives. So let's not describe a person. Most job descriptions say, do these things. It's just stuff. It's a laundry list of duties. And then we go into must have 5 to 10 years of experience of this. Why? Would you promote somebody within your organization if you thought they could do the job? Well, yes, we would. Great. So by definition, most of those people have never done the job, right? We promote them because we believe they can do the job. Mm-hmm. So what kind of things do the person need to do to be successful? And what is this gap between that? So crafting the role by performance objectives is the first thing. We would never touch a recruiting search unless we knew what those objectives are. Because how can you interview for it if you don't know what the job is? If we don't know what needs to get done, achieved, or accomplished, how are you supposed to interview to see if this is truly a great career move? Because
to be specific and realistic about what
use smart goals.
Whoever you're hiring, don't do it unless you can be specific about what they need to accomplish if you want to call it a success.
You got it. Major companies out there, like LinkedIn corporate, LinkedIn is a company. They say how we measure quality of hire is retention or tenure. How long a person stays in a job that defines quality of hire. I'm like, that blows my mind. How does that got to do anything with quality of hire? Just the fact that they're in the job doesn't equal quality, surely, unless you've got great performance management. But so retention, hiring manager satisfaction, I mean, those things, they don't really measure quality. So we would say
they're one step removed. You assume that there are proxies.
Yeah.
Well, you assume that, I mean, I assume the reason why people use those, like tenure, like how long did they stay, is because of the same dilemma you had, which is how do you measure performance? So you assume that that's a proxy. Well, they wouldn't be staying if they weren't getting the job done, or you assume the hiring manager or the manager of the person wouldn't be satisfied if they weren't getting the job done. So that's a proxy for performance.
Yeah.
I assume that's why people do it.
Yeah, I can see why they do that. But if you look at, if you think of highly performing, highly engaged people, typically we know who those are in our organizations. We're like, this person's a rock star. Why? They just keep blowing all their numbers or blowing all those things. We know who those people are. They're rah-rah. They're a culture champion. Great. But who are the highly engaged, low performers? Often that gets diluted because we really like them. Everyone loves them. They're part of the furniture.
So they stay without the performance.
Exactly. And you should get rid of Johnny. Johnny sucks. Like, no, he doesn't. Everyone loves Johnny. Like,
right.
Yeah, instead everyone loves Johnny, and Johnny's great and pulls everyone together for company outings and potlucks and stuff like that. But Johnny sucks. Johnny's not performing. But nobody.
So there's that's the peril of using a proxy for performance instead of performance itself, which is what you're trying to get to.
But if you use some type of a scorecard, which is done or not done, and very clear on objective, it causes the quality of your employees to rise and make sure there's no loss through. And that's the worst part. Like, do you know? You might know who your top 20% of the company are, but do you know who the bottom 80% are by way of performance?
Right.
Probably not, because you haven't got performance goals and objectives on every individual in the company. And I would argue you should be able to. If you go to Chicago Airport and you go out of the public restrooms there's a little green and a red button. How satisfied were you with the cleanliness of this restroom? Highly recommend you do not touch that button.
Except through a towel or something.
Through a towel, maybe. But the point of that is some contract company, a janitorial contract company, got the deal with a service level agreement saying, how will we know if you're doing a good job or not?
Right.
So they put something in place. You can do it with any role measuring performance.
Right. Well, I don't want to run out of time before we get to this manage for performance topic, which is that, okay. I mean, I think we could kind of see the writing on the wall of where this is leading to, but we're not talking about hiring now. Let's say, manage for performance or whatever you're teaching clients on, how they're managing for performance, even for people that you didn't hire for them. You didn't find them as a passive candidate or whatever. So what could people or should people be doing for managing their whole teams for performance, obviously that you've learned and that you help people implement based on, the process that you set up for hiring for performance? How could people manage their teams for performance?
Yeah, good one. So exactly the same concept. If you're starting with, starting from scratch and you've not hired anyone, it's just really easy because you just start with the end in mind and make sure the performance goals and objectives for everyone. But most companies are not in that place. When they adopt a system like EOS, they're like, okay, how does this all work? And they're trying to fit it into their business. It's the same with this when it comes to managing for performance. What are the goals, the quantifiable performance objectives for each role, which takes some time. Like, why do we have this position again? What do we need them to do? And how will we measure success? The measurement is really, really important. Then there's the value alignment. That's the people analyzer following EOS that we call it. So are they living our values? Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it? And then what about the behaviors and the behaviors component too? Because everyone acts in a certain way or behaves in a certain way when the pressure's on and the pressure's off. So we want to know what those are. So we call it the head, the behaviors and cognitive, the heart, which is value alignment or core value alignment, however you want to call that. And each of those values should have behaviors tied to them as well. And then we call it the briefcase, which means what needs to be done, achieved, or accomplished. And we say it's about a third of each. But there's no point in having a great culture fit.
What's the first one again? What's the head one?
The head, behaviors and cognitive. Behaviors and cognitive.
What does that mean, behaviors? I think of just the performance on the job, but what do you mean behaviors?
Yeah, so do you need someone with a high attention to detail, or do you need somebody who's just, going to just be wild and great social relational connector, but follows no process? If you need someone who's going to follow a process, let's say you're hiring a CFO or a controller, and you want them to follow the same process each month and not come up with a new invention every time, you might want to hire somebody who's got to follow through on the details on process, or somebody who's going to create a process and then follow through on it and execute. So, so before we hire any role, we make sure we benchmark that role by behaviors and cognitive. So it's cognitive, ramp up speed and ability, very similar to IQ, fluid intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So people should think about creating, things about, and some way of measuring, I guess, these kind of behavioral things, attitudinal things, things about core, things that relate to core values. And again, you got it. You could, I guess, make that an objective measurable by just having, quarterly people analyzer or, something like that. And then, and then certain KPIs about the actual substance of their job, the GWC side, they get at what capacity. And then
so we've done this we just literally managed it all on an Excel spreadsheet for the entire company. So we have close to 100 salaried team members, mainly in the US, some international, but because we have an international work client base, but we manage all this on spreadsheets, basically a scorecard for managing our people, which ties in everything from the people analyzer, GWC, accountability chart, pulls it all together. But it helps us manage according to performance goals and objectives. So literally, I wanted to see for the last few years, I want to be able to press a button and see every individual in our company, are they hitting their performance goals and objectives? And so we created that, and now we've automated it and put it into a platform called Manage for Performance, a performance management platform, which
And you created that?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So then we track it and we said, okay, the goal is, number one, we want to make sure we're taking care of our own house. And then number two, we want to serve our partners, helping them with hiring and managing for performance.
Right.
So
again, not necessarily the people that you hired.
Exactly.
It could be the people they already had.
Yeah. So just because we can help companies with their hiring, they love our process. So they say, can we apply this process to all of our hiring? And we teach Hire for Performance as a workshop and implement it with organizations. So that's something we believe in, knowledge transfer. We really, I guess, kind of like if you're familiar with the EOS model, there are implementers around the country, and implementers, their goal is not like a classic consultant just to keep finding more and more problems. Right. The goal is to get the company to graduate away from and running on humming on the system. That's our goal as well.
So you might do a few hires with a client, but then you do training that they get you to do so that they can internally implement your Hire for Performance method.
You got it. Well, even at a certain point in time, as a lot of EOS run companies and non are in the business to grow, they're not satisfied with plateau. They want to grow as an organization. At a certain point in time, they may not need us, and they may need a permanent solution, put someone in their place where they say, we need to hire somebody who can handle all of our internal recruitment. We'll help them find that person and be held accountable for that person's success. Help onboard
for that first year of performance.
Yeah, exactly. So our clients, they use us for the hiring process, for implementation of that hiring process, and then on the back end, the management of performance. So they can literally upload all of their team members. We help them craft the performance goals and objectives, upload them into our platform where they have the user seats where they can go in and manage all of their people. Right. There's a great red, green, yellow process. We can see how every manager's doing, or all of their people underneath them. You can slice and dice by department, by position, by everything. Where are my performance? Where are my losses? And how am I getting on my ROI of people? So that's...
Is there now, for those people who are using EOS for managing their companies, some of them might be using Traction Tools or 90.io. EOS Worldwide is coming out with their own platform pretty soon for that sort of thing. Is there any intersection or linkage between this? Is this like
we use Traction Tools. Big fan of Traction Tools. We actually do Traction Tools hiring for them as well. So we're proud of that partnership. And
I think I went to an event once that was, I don't know if it was sponsored. Who did I talk? There was somebody. Did I meet someone from Titus back? I don't know. There's an EOS implementer like get together from the New York area like a year ago. I'm trying to remember if there was someone from Titus there. I don't remember. Anyway,
I'll just take credit for it because
neither
of us
know.
Because
Traction Tools was definitely there, but I can't remember if there was somebody from Titus there. Or I just talked to somebody there that had a good reference from someone from Titus. This is completely irrelevant to the interview. I'm going to stop now. But that is...
Well, we are EOS Worldwide's premium sponsor for the upcoming conference in April in Houston.
Kudos for that. And I'm going to be there.
Thank you. Great. Well,
I'll meet you there.
we'll be speaking at a couple of the sessions, which is a great honor. We're huge fans of EOS, and very, very thankful for EOS in our lives, in our company's lives, and give a lot of credit of our success to running on EOS. So, but yeah, I think the individual performance management component, I've not seen anything catered to small and mid-sized companies. There are a lot of platforms out there, HRIS systems, which bake in performance reviews and all this kind of stuff, but they're designed for very, very large organizations. And I have not seen one that goes really, really dialed in performance management, which ties to the hiring of the job, with clear performance goals and objectives that follows it all the way through to the anniversary date. That's essentially what our platform does, and it bakes in quarterly conversations using EOS principles. So
that's very cool, and I'm certainly, I think it's surprising. Other people might be surprised to, this idea of, yes, you charge something for your time and expenses at the hiring, but then the rest of your fee that's due is a year later based on productivity and actually achieving the performance of whatever it was that they were hired for. Very, very novel and interesting. So I think that'll be novel for people to hear about. Obviously, they can reach out to you, titustalent.com, on, if they do need help with hiring at whatever level, and or if they want to learn and adopt some of what you teach and what you help your clients do for this managed for performance stuff, above and beyond the people that you actually hire. So
we genuinely mean this. We don't have to do any recruitment for your company. If you're like, ooh, don't like recruiters, totally fine. We teach on this process. We've got loads and loads of resources, from hiring scorecards to processes that you can actually just kind of translate into your world. Our 4-phase process, which applies to any company anywhere, and then our managed for performance methodologies. Literally, we did it without a software or platform. We've done it in Excel. We can give you all of those templates as well and help you navigate through that stuff. It's a privilege and an honor to partner with companies. So.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, definitely reach out, Jonathan Reynolds, reach out, titustalent.com. You can be in touch with him or them through that. And Jonathan, I appreciate you coming out. I learned a lot, and it's interesting stuff, interesting perspective. You're a fun guy, and appreciate the conversation. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks a lot, Ben. Really good to be here. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right. Thank you. And we'll see everybody else on the other side. All the best.
You're listening to Win-Win, an entrepreneurial community with your host, Ben Wolf.